Have you ever stopped to think about why, all of a sudden, a man who seemed to like you starts to pull away? He doesn't reply to your messages, he's distant in conversations, or he simply disappears for a few days, and a flood of questions arise in your mind. Has he lost interest? Did I do something wrong? Did he never really feel anything for me? Today, we're going to delve into the male mind to understand what really happens when a man decides to ignore you. And let me say up front, it's not always about a lack of love or disinterest. Often the explanation lies in emotional, psychological, and even physical factors that influence how men deal with feelings and relationships. Imagine you're in a relationship, or even just starting something, and suddenly that man who used to text you every day takes hours to respond. You feel invisible, rejected, as if you've lost your place in his life. The truth is that almost every woman has experienced this situation at some point, and almost every man has acted this way too. And here's the thing, men and women don't feel and react to emotions in the same way. While many women prefer to talk, open their hearts, and seek clarity, many men prefer to shut down, pull away, and create a kind of emotional silence. And that silence, to those on the other side, can seem like coldness, contempt, or a lack of love. But is that really all there is to it? In this video, you'll discover why male silence is often a form of emotional protection, what's really going through a man's mind when he distances himself from you, the two main reasons that make a man truly fall in love, and how understanding this can completely change the way you view relationships. And I want you to stay until the end, because there I will share real stories that show in a clear and even surprising way how men think and feel when they seem to ignore someone they love. But before we dive in, it's important that you understand something essential. Being ignored doesn't automatically mean you're not loved. Often, men are fighting internal battles that they don't share with anyone. These can be financial pressures, personal insecurities, fear of disappointment, or even difficulty dealing with deeper feelings. And when that happens, instead of talking, many prefer to remain silent. This behavior may seem harsh, but it is linked to something learned early on. From an early age, many men grow up hearing that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness, that feeling too much is dangerous, that asking for help is shameful. And the result? As adults, they carry the idea that walking away is easier than explaining. So, if you've ever experienced the pain of being ignored, this video will open your eyes. You'll realize that behind that silence, there may be a world of hidden reasons, some related to who he is, others related to how he feels about you. And in the end, you will understand that knowing the male mind is not just about understanding men. It's about knowing yourself, strengthening your self-esteem, and above all, learning not to let other people's attitudes undermine your value. Get ready, because from now on, we are going to decipher the secrets of male behavior together and find out what really goes through a man's mind when he decides to walk away. When we talk about love and relationships, many people believe that men and women feel the same way. But the truth is that the male way of thinking works very differently, and this helps explain why at times he seems distant or even indifferent. To begin with, we need to understand a simple basis. Men tend to deal with emotions more internally than externally. While many women feel the need to talk, vent, and share, men in many cases prefer to keep everything to themselves. That doesn't mean they don't feel. On the contrary, they feel a lot, but they deal with it differently. Think about how most boys are raised. From an early age, they hear phrases like, "Suck it up," "Men don't complain," "Be strong." These phrases shape their minds, creating the idea that showing feelings is a sign of weakness. So when they grow up, these men carry the belief that when faced with emotional problems, the best solution is to remain silent. Now, imagine a man in love. He may be afraid of losing you, afraid of not being good enough, afraid of being rejected. But instead of sharing these fears, he closes himself off. For him, this is a way of protecting himself. The problem is that, to an outsider, this looks like pure indifference. Another important point is that the male mind often links love with responsibility. When a man starts to really like someone, the emotional weight increases. He starts to think about how he will maintain this relationship, how he will uphold his image of strength in front of you, and how he will not fail. And when that pressure becomes too great, the natural reaction is to pull away. It's as if his mind is saying, "I need space to think before I act." This explains why many men may be truly in love, but still disappear for a few days, become colder, or seem disconnected. It's not because they don't care about you, but because they're trying to sort out their feelings. And here's an interesting detail. Men generally don't like to deal with direct emotional conflicts. For them, a serious conversation can seem like a dispute they don't want to lose. So instead of talking, they prefer to avoid it. But avoiding it often means ignoring it. But be careful. This doesn't mean that all distancing is good or healthy. There's a fine line between a man who distances himself to get his head straight and a man who distances himself because he's really lost interest. The difference is in the signs he shows, and that's what we'll start to analyze in the next few sections. Before that, I want you to keep one main idea in mind. A man's silence says more about him than it does about you. When he distances himself, most of the time it's not to hurt you, but because he's stuck in his own way of dealing with emotions. Understanding this doesn't mean accepting everything quietly, but rather understanding that the game of love isn't just about how you feel. It's also about how the other person has learned to feel. In the next section, we'll reveal the first big reason why men truly fall in love. And when you understand this reason, it will be much easier to understand why they behave in ways that seem strange or even confusing. Now we come to one of the most important parts, the first big reason why a man truly falls in love. It may sound simple, but it's extremely powerful. Men fall in love with those who inspire respect and admiration in them. Of course, beauty attracts attention. Of course, physical appearance can be appealing. But what really captivates a man is not just what he sees, it's what he feels when he's with you. Think of it this way. He may be interested in a smile, an appearance, or an entertaining conversation, but what really keeps him is feeling that by your side he is seen, valued, and respected. This activates something very deep within him, the need for recognition. Since childhood, many men grow up with the desire to prove their worth. They want to be strong, they want to be capable, they want to be recognized as someone who can care for and build things. And when a woman makes him feel that, it's as if she has touched on an essential part of his identity. Have you ever noticed how some men change completely around certain women? Suddenly, they become more confident, happier, more motivated. This happens because that woman, without realizing it, makes him feel important. And that feeling is addictive to the male mind. But be careful. We're not talking about flattery or meaningless compliments. What keeps a man is the feeling that he can be himself around you and still be admired. When he realizes that you don't compare him to others, that you don't diminish his achievements but value even his small victories, it creates an invisible and powerful bond. And here's a detail that almost no one notices. Men don't fall in love with the most beautiful woman in the room, but with the one who makes them feel like the most capable man in the world. That's the real key. That's why we often see couples who seem strange in the eyes of others. Perhaps you've seen an incredible man next to a woman who, to many, didn't seem that special. But to him, she was unique. And do you know why? Because she knew how to make him feel valued and respected. Now pay attention. When a man feels that he is not recognized, he may even like her. He may even desire her, but he will hardly give himself body and soul. The lack of admiration weakens the relationship, makes him pull away, makes him seem cold. On the other hand, when he feels respected, he opens up, gives himself, and puts energy into the relationship. So, if you want to understand why a man might ignore you or pull away, the answer is often right here. Maybe he feels he doesn't have the space to be himself. Maybe he feels that he is not seen, that he is not respected, that he is not admired, and that hurts the male mind a lot. This is the first big reason why men fall in love: admiration. It is the fuel of passion, the desire to be close, the desire to fight for you. In the next section, I will show you real stories that prove how this works in practice. You will see that, in everyday situations, the secret to male love was not expensive gifts or seduction strategies, but something much simpler: the power to make a man feel truly valued. To help you better understand how admiration is the basis of male passion, I will give you some examples that show this happening in real life. Imagine the story of Carla and Marcos. Carla was a simple woman. She didn't have the body or face that the media usually glorifies, but she had something special. She truly believed in Marcos's talent. He had always dreamed of opening a small business, but was afraid of failing. Carla, instead of criticizing or comparing him to other people, said, "I know you can do it. You have talent, you just need to believe in yourself more." These words, spoken sincerely, made Marcos fall deeply in love with her. He wasn't enchanted because Carla was perfect, but because she made him feel capable. Now think about the case of Juliana and Andre. Juliana was very beautiful and attracted attention wherever she went. Andre was initially fascinated by her beauty, but over time he realized that Juliana was always criticizing him, belittling his ideas, and comparing him to other men. The result, no matter how attracted he was to her, he was never able to give himself fully to her. Beauty was not enough to sustain love. Do you see the difference? While Carla aroused admiration in Marcos, Juliana made Andre feel small. What truly connects us is not appearance, but the way someone makes us feel. Another example comes from a scene you may have seen or experienced. A man who, when near one woman, seems ordinary, dull, but next to another, he changes. He becomes more confident, more excited, more determined to fight for his dreams. This happens because the second woman touched on the central point. She made him feel valued, not with false compliments but with simple gestures, a look of pride, a word of encouragement, sincere recognition. And here's an important detail. Men rarely say this out loud. They don't say, "I need you to admire me." But inside, this is one of their greatest needs. When they don't find it, they close themselves off, pull away, or even look for it elsewhere. This also explains why many men who ignore you are not without love. Sometimes they are just trying to deal with the emptiness of not feeling important. When he realizes he is not admired, his instinct is to protect himself, retreat, and remain silent. Now see how this works in the long run. A couple that builds their relationship on mutual admiration creates a bond that is almost impossible to break, because when he feels valued, he naturally returns it with more affection, care, and love. The cycle strengthens. When there is no admiration, the cycle is negative. He pulls away, she demands. He closes himself off more, and the relationship wears down. These stories show that the key is not in grand gestures, games of conquest, or trying to guess what he wants. The key is in something much simpler, how you make him feel when he is with you. And that's exactly the idea we're going to take to the next point. Because in addition to admiration, there is a second reason that is just as strong, which also explains why men fall in love, and at the same time, why they may choose to walk away. Now that you understand that admiration is the first big key to male love, let's talk about the second reason that makes men truly fall in love. And this one is even deeper. Men fall in love with those who bring emotional calm and a sense of security. Many people believe that men only seek excitement, desire, or conquest. But deep down, when he decides to truly commit, what he wants is peace of mind. He seeks to be with someone with whom he doesn't have to justify himself all the time, with whom he doesn't live in a constant state of conflict, with whom he can simply be himself without fear of criticism. Have you noticed how many men seem tough on the outside, but carry fears and insecurities on the inside? They may not show it, but the pressure of work, financial responsibilities, life's problems, and even personal doubts weigh on them daily. And when they find a woman who, instead of adding to that weight, offers rest, support, and peace, their hearts surrender. This is one of the most hidden secrets of the male mind. Men may even like intensity, but they only truly fall in love with calmness. While admiration awakens pride and the will to fight in them, emotional peace awakens the desire to stay, to build, and to surrender. Here's a simple example. A man may be attracted to a fun woman who draws attention and challenges him. But if at the same time she makes him anxious, distrustful, or creates a heavy atmosphere, he may even like her, but he is unlikely to dive in deeply. On the other hand, when he finds a woman who knows how to listen without criticizing, who conveys confidence, and who doesn't turn every detail into a war, he falls in love with that feeling of refuge. And here's an important difference. Fleeting passion is born of intensity, novelty, and adrenaline. True passion is born of calm, security, and emotional relief. That's why so many men, when describing the woman of their lives, use phrases like, "She calms me down," "She understands me," "She brings me peace," and realize, when a man finds that peace, he doesn't want to lose it at all, because outside, he faces pressure, demands, and disputes all the time. If, at home or alongside the one he loves, he finds tranquility, it becomes a true treasure. Now, connecting with the theme of this video, often when he ignores you or pulls away, it may be precisely because he feels he has not found that peace. Perhaps he is experiencing constant conflict, excessive criticism, or the feeling that he always has to defend himself. For the male mind, This is exhausting. And instead of facing it head-on, many choose to remain silent, pull away, or hide. But the opposite is also true. When he finds emotional peace, he not only stays, but he gets even closer. He feels the desire to share, to open his heart, to lower his defenses. And that's when mature love is born, the kind that goes beyond initial attraction and turns into something lasting. So keep this in mind. The second big reason why men fall in love is the peace you convey. Because for them, more than beauty, status, or appearance, what really matters is how they feel when they are with you. In the next and final section, I'll put all the pieces together, share stories that prove this second reason, and bring you to a powerful conclusion so you'll never interpret male silence the same way again. To understand how admiration and peace work together, let's go back to some stories that make this clear. Consider the case of Rafael and Fernanda. Rafael was a very hard-working man, but full of insecurities about his own worth. When he met Fernanda, she not only believed in him, but celebrated every little achievement. If he fixed something at home, she would say, "You're amazing. I could never have done it alone." These simple and sincere words awakened in him a feeling of being valued. Over time, Rafael not only fell deeply in love, but also became more confident. He didn't want to be away from her because he felt important when he was with her. Now consider the case of Carlos and Ana. Carlos had always lived in high-pressure environments, demanding work, a demanding family, a busy routine. When he met Ana, he realized that with her it was different. She didn't demand quick answers. She didn't turn every problem into an argument. She knew how to listen and respected his silences. For him, being with Ana was like finding a safe haven. The result? He fell in love not only with the woman she was, but with the peace she conveyed. And because of that, he never wanted to give up that connection. These stories show something essential. Men may seem tough, cold, or distant, but deep down, they are looking for the same things we all are: recognition and tranquility. Their silence, often seen as rejection, is actually just a way of trying to deal with these feelings. Now let's conclude this journey. When a man ignores you, it doesn't automatically mean he doesn't like you. In many cases, it's just a reflection of how he's learned to deal with his own emotions. If he doesn't feel valued, he may shut down. If he can't find peace, he may pull away. These are the two main pillars that sustain male love. And most importantly, understanding this does not mean accepting any attitude, but rather seeing everything clearly. When you understand how the male mind works, you stop blaming yourself. You stop thinking that you are not enough. And you realize that often his behavior says more about him than it does about you. The big lesson is, a healthy relationship is born when there is a balance between admiration and peace. He needs to feel recognized and you need to feel respected. He needs to find calm by your side, and you also need to find calm by his side. Without this, silence becomes emptiness. But with this, silence can be just a space for reflection, without fear or insecurity. So, the next time he ignores you, don't jump to conclusions. Observe the signs, understand what may be happening, and above all, value yourself. Because when you know yourself, when you admire yourself and convey your own peace, you naturally attract those who know how to recognize that value. And if this content made sense to you, don't forget to leave your like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Here, we always bring you real reflections based on the male mind so that you can better understand not only men, but also yourself. Thank you for staying until the end, and remember, understanding male silence can be the first step in changing the way you love and are loved.